Welcome to Spooky News for January 31st, 2020. This year just seems to be flying by. January's done now, and that's getting us that much closer to Halloween and the spooky season. We're all about the spooky here. So, remember, keep it spooky and let's get on with the spooky news. Remember, Spooky Ventures, and particularly the Spooky Ventures YouTube channel, but literally every bit of Spooky Ventures is supposed to be an interactive experience. So, be sure to leave us a message on our videos when you like something. Give the video a like, share the video, subscribe to the video YouTube channel, and whatever you do, just keep it spooky and interact. There's a new picture circulating. It shows three lights traveling together in the sky. I don't know. To me, it almost looks like a picture that could be an airplane. Airplane lights, a bit out of focus. But your mileage may vary, and sometimes when people capture things on camera, they're not exactly what they look like in real life. Try taking a picture of the moon sometime, and I've got a good camera, a good DSLR with a nice zoom, and to get a good picture of the moon, it's still not that easy. So, things in the sky, it's just a little hard to capture photos, but this picture was taken in a place called Wigan, in the UK, and you can have a look at the picture for yourself and see what you think. So you say you like scary movies. Have you ever wondered why? Well, a Finnish research team did MRIs of people watching horror movies, and they've determined that they've determined quite a few things actually, that psychologically based horror movies and particularly ones based on real events seem to be the scariest for people. But they've also determined that the reason people like these movies so much is that by triggering the threat assessment and threat reaction parts of the brain, they're really close to areas of the brain that are triggered during any kind of excitement in your life. So it, as they say expertly, triggers the excitement areas of the brain, thereby making those movies, by definition, exciting. I think anybody who's into horror movies knows they're exciting, but at least now we have science to back that up. The world of science fiction and horror lost a real gem this recently when the death of Carol Serling. Now, Carol Serling was the wife of Rod Serling, and of course Rod Serling was the man responsible for such great things as The Twilight Zone and Night Gallery. Well, after his death, Carol was the one who helped to keep the flame of Twilight Zone alive, and she's done a great job, obviously, because the Twilight Zone's everywhere. It could be said that its contemporary Outer Limits was just as good a show, but it didn't have someone like Carol Serling, and it's acting on his behalf all these years, so that's why you don't really hear nearly as much about the Outer Limits as you do the Twilight Zone. So, good job to Carol for doing that all these years, and rest in peace. In case you missed it, we did a new interview this week with paranormal investigator and author Elaine Kelly. That was released on Tuesday, so I'll include a link in the video here, and you can have a look at that if you missed it, or maybe you just want to check it out again. She even includes some cool footage from her their investigation of the Whitechapel murders, aka Jack the Ripper. If you've ever wanted to be the proud owner of a haunted pub, the Swan and Royal in the Lancashire area. Actually, it's in a place called Clitheroe. Sorry, I'm not great on these pronunciations, but in any event, it's for sale. You can purchase it for less than £100,000, and it's got a real haunted history with a ghost of a 17-year-old girl and all kinds of things. So have a look at the article and see if you're ready to make a bid on this historic place and start your new life with a spirited business dishing out spirits. I know I've talked about it before, and I mentioned last week that there's a new documentary series coming out about creepy stuff happening during the filming of horror movies. Well, there's a new article um, titled 20 Terrifying Behind the Scenes Secrets from Horror Films. Yeah, some of these, I don't know how secret they are, at least at the time. Maybe by now people have forgotten them. Like some of them include the Brandon Lee getting shot during The Crow filming, the helicopter crash during the making of The Twilight Zone. But then there are lots of other less known things, they talk about movies like The Omen, obviously Poltergeist, that's a famous one, The Conjuring, and lots of others, obviously 20 total. So be sure to have a look at the article and get your spook on. I talked a couple weeks ago about the new trailer for Sabrina, the series, or the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and how it was a music video. Well, the music group Lovecraft is the one responsible for that, and there's a new interview that just surfaced this week from Vents Magazine on with Lovecraft, and they talk about the song and everything. So be sure to have a look at that interview to give you more information. And the Lovecraft is a cool project to check out anyway if you're into spooky stuff and music. There's a spooky new music video from Girl in Red called Kate's Not Here, and it's from the soundtrack to the movie The Turning. And Rolling Stone has a nice feature about the video and the song and the artist. So please have a look at that, and you'll find the link here. I'm going to add the video to our YouTube channel, our playlist, and you can have a look at that and enjoy. I know I've talked quite a bit lately about Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. They had that trailer that was a music video. I mentioned even in this edition about Lovecraft, which is the artist who did this song. So this is nothing new to you guys, I'm sure, if you've been paying attention to these spooky news videos. But with the new season 3 of the show streaming, Waxwork Records is releasing a soundtrack for Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Season 1. And not only are they releasing the soundtrack, but they're releasing it in a very cool way. It's a 3-record LP on what they call satanic splatter vinyl, which I'll see if I can get clearance to put a picture of it in the video. But it's really cool. It's like white with the cool splatter all over it. If I get the clearance, that'll be really cool. So I will try to get that, and we'll see what happens. But in any event, keep an eye open for that vinyl. And if nothing else, even if you don't like the show or the music, just having that, it looks very collectible to me. But I'm a big vinyl collector, so who knows. Fodor's is well known for their travel guide books, and they've also got some cool articles on the internet, and they've got a new one that is perfect if you're looking to travel in Latin America. There are 10 places in Latin America that are truly terrifying. From a place where there were human sacrifices, to a building with dungeon, to cemetery. There are, obviously 10 places, 7 more than I mentioned, and I didn't give you a lot of information on the 3 that I did mention. So, what does that mean? Check out the details, check out the source that I list, and go have a read of the article, and make your travel plans for some paranormal, spooky travel. Are you a fan of The Silence of the Lambs? Personally, I always thought it was pretty creepy just because the main character, Hannibal Lecter, is so likable and seems like the kind of guy you would, if you met him and didn't know his history, would think was a pretty cool guy. So, one thing that's interesting now, they're going to focus on Clarise, because that's the title of the series, but they're doing a new spin-off series of Silence of the Lamb. So if you are one of the people who really like this Silence of the Lamb, you will definitely want to check that out. It's going to be on CBS, and there's a new article that has some a list of some things that we do know about the show. The first of which, of course, is that the title is Clarise. But have a look at that. There's a new movie in the works based on a video game, and the movie and the video game both are called Werewolves Within. And so that should be fun. You don't get as many werewolf movies, it seems like, as you do some other genres. So, some other things in the horror genre, anyway. So, if it's a good werewolf movie, that should be fun. Coming to theaters on February 7th, The Lodge has a new trailer released, and it looks pretty darn creepy. So, if you want to have a look at a spooky movie trailer, be sure to check out the one for The Lodge. Last week, when I talked about the new Robert Englund show, True Terror, I mentioned that perhaps he's sort of the modern horror movie royalty, of people like Karloff and Vincent Price and Lon Chaney Jr. Well, there's a new article that came out from The Ringer, and it suggests that Nicolas Cage is the new Vincent Price. I'm not sure whether I agree with the article or not. It's kind of an interesting take on things. If he wants to get involved in more horror projects, then hey, great. I think he's probably pretty good in them. And I don't know, people. There's a lot of hate out there for Nicolas Cage. Personally, I don't get it. I think there are a lot of other actors who are guilty of the same things he's supposedly guilty of, as far as overacting and just sort of emoting all over everything he does. I don't really necessarily see that. I just think it's Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage, and I don't know. I pretty much enjoy him in everything he does, but I'm not so sure I'm willing to say that he's the new Vincent Price. But have a look at the article and see what you think. I mentioned that song by Kate's Not Here from the soundtrack to The Turning. Um, Interestingly enough, there's a new article out about the basis for the movie The Turning, and you might not realize it, but The Turning is based on Henry James' novella from 1898, The Turn of the Screw. So I think it's probably a very loose adaptation, but that's the basis for it. A lot of great horror movies are based on literary works, so nothing new there. So if you want to find a movie that is perhaps horror. Well, it certainly has a horror element. I'm not sure exactly what else is going on here, but I'm hoping there's some serious tongue-in-cheek comedy involved too. There's a new trailer that might be of interest to you. It's called Ouija Shark, and I guess it involves people calling up the ghosts of dead sharks who start to attack them. It actually, the tagline is, "We're going to need a bigger board." So that is, they have to have a sense of humor or they wouldn't use that tagline. So you're going to have to check out that trailer. It looks pretty crazy stuff. So it should at least be fun. It may be really stupid. I don't know. It sounds like a stupid concept. But then again, they made, what, 8 Sharknado movies or something? I didn't get that concept either. So perhaps this will take off. Well, if you're watching these spooky news, it's a safe bet you like spooky things and horror movies and stuff like that. If you're of a certain age, the Cheech and Chong were really I don't know, the bad boy humor of the time. And putting the two together could be a really cool thing. Apparently, a new story's out that says that Tommy Chong is writing a Cheech and Chong horror movie. Now, this is either going to be a train wreck bad, or it will be really, really good. I guess time will remain, and time will wait, tell once we get there. But yeah, well, I don't know. I have high hopes, but also think it could be a real disappointment. We'll see. A little while ago, I talked a bit about the movie The Thing and how there was a new article explaining how ahead of the times it was. And I mentioned that everybody seems to think it's a remake of the 1950s version. John Carpenter's version, anyway, is a remake of the 1950s version. And that's not actually true. They're both adaptations of Who Goes There, which was a novella. And now it's being reported that the Carpenter version is being remade. And again, it's not really true. What they're doing is doing a new film adaptation, but this time it's of a full length novel because there were extra chapters found that were not available before, and so those are being added into the movie. So again, it's going to be a new interpretation of the source material, but we even get some extra source material this time around, and it's from Blumhouse. You can kind of count on them for some quality horror stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to this one. I think it should be pretty interesting. I mean, again, it's not a remake of either of the other movies. It's a fresh adaptation of the material with some new material. So you can't really go wrong with that. I will be looking forward to seeing it. So apparently, a new horror movie debuted at the Sundance Film Festival. It's called The Night House, and at least if you can believe the folks who saw it there, they some of them considered it to be the scariest ghost story in years. So let's look forward to the release of that movie. It should be pretty interesting. Even if it only lives up to half the hype, it should still be pretty darn cool. If you find creepy clowns to be very scary, then Eli Roth's new undertaking might be just up your alley. Uh, Clownpocalypse is what he's going to be involved in. You might know him as the creator of Hostel. And in this instance, it's going to be a movie, a game, and a full franchise. In fact, probably a series of movies and games, if all goes well anyway. So watch your gaming stations and your movie theaters for Clownpocalypse. It's sure to be creepy clown stuff and should keep it spooky. Another new film debuted at Sundance that's a horror film, and it's gotten some good reviews too. It's called Relic, and it's an Australian horror film. Um, it's supposedly a slow burn movie, so if you like those kind, you might be find something to enjoy. It does sound pretty creepy based on the description um, of a house that seems looking to get the elderly woman there, and how some other people move in, her relatives looking for her, and what how the creepiness ensues from there. So it sounds like a creepy movie. Keep your eyes out for the Relic. It should be spooky. There's one new horror movie opening this weekend, and it opens today, and that is Gretel and Hansel, the reimagining of the old fairy tale. So get out there to the theaters and check it out. And that's a wrap for this edition of Spooky News. Be sure to tune in next week for more spooky news and keep it spooky. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.